Hello, I welcome you all to this wonderful lesson where we are starting this new topic called moment. So, this is a moment of a force that I want us to look at. The first thing you need to ask yourself is what is moment? Not moment of a force, but what is moment? Just the word moment. You need to ask yourself what is this word moment? What is moment in physics? Not a moment like in English. Whenever you are referring to a time, let's say you are referring to something that is happening moment of time, not that one, but just the word moment. What is moment? So whenever we are talking about moment, we are just talking about the turning. So in physics, we define moment as a turning effect. So this is define a turning effect of a force. This is a turning effect of a force about a certain point. About a certain point. So about a certain what? About a certain point. This is what you are supposed to understand. So when I tell you what is moment, you need to tell me that moment is the turning effect of a force about a certain point. Even as I'm explaining these things, I guess you are able to note down certain notes. You are supposed to be writing what I'm talking about. We now go to moment of a force. What is now moment of a force? So what is moment of a force? We now go to that one that I've written, which is a moment of a force. Moment of a force is just defined as the product. So moment of a force, we just defined it as a product of a force, product of a force and the perpendicular distance. And the what? And the perpendicular distance. And the perpendicular distance of its line of action. Of what? Of its line of action from, so this word is from a pivot. This is what you need to understand. From where? From a pivot. I guess you know what a pivot is. This is a point where all forces seems to be acting on. So this is something that you are supposed to understand. So when I tell you what is moment of a force, you must be able to tell me that the moment of a force is just a product of the force and the perpendicular distance of its line. The definition, product of a force and perpendicular distance. There are two things here that we need to note. We are saying moment, which is capital letter M, is equal to, so moment of a force is defined as a product of a force. So product of a force meaning you are multiplying force and its what? Perpendicular distance. This is where the formula comes from. If I give you a question here and I tell you calculate moment of a force, this is a particular formula you need to use. And you need to be very sensitive. I've told you that perpendicular distance and force, not a parallel distance, no, a perpendicular distance to the force. This is what you are supposed to know. So the data that is here, this is to tell you that the M that is there, that the capital letter M that is there, this is the what? This is what we are calling moment. So the capital letter M that is here, this is called what? This is called moment. Moment, the units are what? Newtons and meter. Have you seen like this? Then we go to F. F, I guess you know. What is F? The F there, that is the what? That is the force. Force is measured in what? Newtons. So these are the units. So this is Newton meter. This is Newtons. When we go to the D that is there, the D is called the what? Perpendicular. So I'll just say perpendicular what? You can finish that. Perpendicular distance. This information is very important and I want you to understand this. the D there, that is a perpendicular distance, which is in what? In meters. So this is what you are supposed to know. These are certain things you have to understand. Even as we get to move forward, I want you to understand these basic things that we are doing. So we just need to make sure that we understand these things. We need to know this. And I want you to know that perpendicular distance must be a distance from the pivot to the force. So these are cardinal points that you are supposed to note. So I will say points that you need to note. So certain things you need to note is that one, the perpendicular, this way to finish it, it is called the perpendicular. So it is the perpendicular distance that we are talking about. It must be, so the perpendicular distance must be the distance, so it must be the distance from the pivot, so the distance from the pivot to the force. From the what? From the pivot to the force. This is what you are supposed to know. So the perpendicular distance must be the distance from the pivot to the force. So that perpendicular distance, you need to make sure that it is the distance from the pivot to the force. This is what I get to mean, and this is what you are supposed to